Okay, welcome class. My name is Rich Malloy. I recognize some of your faces, but if you don't mind, can we go? We have a small cohort, so I think we should take advantage and just go around the room and just introduce yourself. Then once we get started, if everybody could just mute their microphones. So sometimes we get some background. And you might want to do that when people are talking too, so that the camera stays focused on them and not yourself. So with that, I'm gonna mute mine, and we'll just let the first person. I don't know if you want to go in order of how we see them on the top, but feel free to just chime in when there's a gap.
Okay. Am I the first one up there? Is that me? Can you hear me? Okay. Well. My name is Scott Blanc. My first name is Michael, you see, but I do go by Scott. So that's who I am. This is my second leadership class now. I started in the spring.
My name is Malvelio Ibarra. The same as Michael. We started at the same time. It's my second course here at Humboldt. And yeah, I'm enjoying it and eager to see what this class kind of turns into as well.
My name is Kevin Atmore. This is also my second class here at Humboldt State.
Annabelle Doce. It's also my second class, so I think I started with all of you. So hello.
Hi, I'm Cassandra Duffy. This is also my second class.
Okay, that's all the people I can see. Now, sometimes there's some hidden off the screen. Did we miss anybody? All right, we'll go with that. I think that's probably it. Okay, so if you have any questions during this presentation, either write them down or just go ahead and ask them during the presentation. I don't mind that at all. So what we're going to do is I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to walk you through the course. I'm going to talk about what I think is important to know at the onset of the course. We're in week 2. This is usually when I do it. It's not late when I do this presentation. But yeah, it'll just give you a better idea of what to expect. And if you have any questions, you can always ask me about those. With that, we'll get started. So do you see the course website, or do you see something else? Everybody sees the course website? Okay, awesome. I was just asking because I'm using 2 monitors, and one of my monitors has something else on it, the Zoom screen. So, okay, so this is how the course looks on a computer screen. I know there's a lot of mobile users out there that just access the course solely on their iPads. I'm not sure how different it looks because I don't really access the course on my mobile devices. So it always looks like this to me. Home is at the top. We'll go down this row, this column right here real quick. Home and syllabus are the same. What it is the instructor sets whatever page they want to for the syllabus, or for the home page, and in this case, it's the syllabus page. I don't know why they call it syllabus, but that's what they call it. Really, the syllabus is a Word doc that you'll find right here. Actually, it's a Google Doc. So hopefully everybody's had a chance to read that. The grading policy is in there. I have a policy that is in line with most of the other instructors. We allow for 3 one-day late, no questions asked, and then start docking after that. Mine is 5%. Each day it's late past that one day. You cannot bank them up, so it couldn't be like 3 days late for one assignment. It's just a policy for 1 day grace period 3 times. There's also the cutoffs for A, B, C, D on there, and kind of the standard stuff that you would find on a syllabus. The required readings, the books here. There are 2 books, really. This last one's just a website. The first one is the one that you've been using for the discussion posts. And then the second one is Crucial Conversations. It's a smaller book that you can get on Amazon. And it's a pretty quick read. So there is one other reading that we will be doing out of the Bass Handbook. The Bass Handbook is an optional textbook. I would recommend it to all people that are in getting their degree in leadership studies, because it's like a Bible when it comes to leadership studies. It's not the only one out there. There's also the Harvard Business Review. They put one out as well. We looked at both of those as a program. I happen to like the Bass Handbook better in terms of how it was written and the chapters and the articles. So we will read the first chapter in this course of the Bass Handbook. And that's really just to keep it really tied to that leadership theme. And it'll also give you a flavor as to whether you want to buy that book. It's not a cheap book. It's I forget exactly. I think the cover price is close to $100, but you can often find it for a lot cheaper. Okay, so then we have modules. This is really where the meat and potatoes are for the course. So I'm going to skip that one for now. Announcement tab. That's where you're going to find any important news that I'm announcing. For example, the week 2 live lecture. And then, you know what I should have done? I'm going to go back here and do it. Is I'm going to set this on student view, because I don't want to show you something and then have you say, well, I don't see it. It's not showing up for me, or something like that. So let's go back to announcements. Yeah. So you can see right there, there are some things that were hidden. You don't need to see those right now, so don't worry about them. This is where you'll find things that are important. And when I'm done with this recording for this lecture tonight, I will post it as a reply to this post here. So it'll just be at the bottom here. Discussions, we use discussions a lot, that tab a lot in this course. A lot of the assignments are in discussion format. You saw that in week 1 with the reading posts. There's a couple few like that, and then there's a couple few that are different. They're kind of standalone. Share a video. The Crucial Conversation book that I talked about, the second book, there's a discussion post for that, and there's also one for the Bass reading that I talked about, the chapter 1. So those are on there. So we use discussion a lot. Assignments, you're going to find a list of the 18 assignments for the course. If you want to look at those, they're there. Quizzes, there are 5 graded quizzes in this course. There are also 4 surveys. You're going to find those all located under quizzes. I don't typically look for things under these tabs. I go to the module. So like I said, we'll look at the module tab at the end here, but I just wanted to mention what you will find underneath these tabs. Grades, of course, how you're doing in terms of the grades for the assignments. Files, I wouldn't really deal with that. You don't need to. Chat, I don't use that. Library resources, I don't use that. I probably should. I find out what that is about. People, if you want to, that's a useful tab. If you want to find somebody in the course, click on that tab and you'll find them. And turn it in. I don't use that. I probably should. I know some of the other faculty do. It's something for plagiarism to kind of find that in documents. So what they do is they run the documents through there somehow. And then Google Drive, which I don't usually access my Google Drive through here either. So some of these are helpful, some of them not so much. Where you're really going to find everything is under modules. Starting off with kind of the basic stuff, my bio, tech requirements for the course, but I'll just say that you need to have internet access and that we will be doing things like this, video chatting, so sufficient bandwidth and whatnot. Communicating in an online course is a generic page for all Humboldt online courses, and it just talks about etiquette and things like that in terms of online education. And then find help here, that you're going to find links to my email, which are also on the syllabus page, but phone number I think is on there, and then things for like technical support and whatnot. Ask a question, this is just right from the discussions tab. And then you get into week 1, you've already done week 1. Week 2, we're in there now. Very similar to week 1 with the exception of adding this Zoom lecture. Week 3, so I think this is where we start getting into some other kind of flavors of assignments. So in week 3, we'll go there. Oops. It'll take you to the main page for week 3. This is where usually from my perspective, this is kind of what I anticipated, that students would go to this page. It's the main page for each module to find out what they need to do for the week. And it would be down here. So the readings, there's a presentation on the Purdue online writing lab. And this is kind of like a professional writing presentation. And then we get into the assignment there, write a memo or a letter. A memo is an internal business document. A letter is a professional outside the company document. So in other words, if you're writing from one company to another, you're going to use a letter. If you're writing from one person in the company to another person in the company, you're going to use a memo. So memos are internal. Just remember that. Letters you can use for a lot of different purposes, right? And then says here to take a look at the rubric for the online training session. The reason I'm kind of doing this here in week 3 is to give you some visibility of this major assignment. This one's not due until the very end of the course, but it takes a lot of preparation to complete. So by getting you to look at the rubric early, my hope is that you'll start working on that assignment early. Okay, so that's week 3. Week 4 is going to be where you read the leadership article from the Bass textbook or handbook. That is going to be a PDF. You don't need to buy it. So it should come right off of here. Let's see. I'm not going to download it, but please give it a shot. And if you have any problems, let me know. After we're done here. And then you start working on your next writing assignment. Now, really, I look at this course as kind of divided into two main blocks. One is writing, the other one is kind of verbal communication. There's a lot of blending. They're not real discrete silos in terms of where they fall. But in my mind, leadership studies, leadership communication is when I thought about what's important to teach in this course, I think that writing is important because writing is, I think, the most disciplined form of communication. You don't have to be a great speaker to be a great writer, and vice versa, I should say. But writing is the one that, with the right education and training, you can become very adept at. And speaking is a little harder. It's, off the cuff a lot of times, and you don't have that space to really prepare and think about what you're going to say. So I think writing is, like I said, I think it's, if I had to choose between the two, I'd say it's the most important form of communication that we have. And therefore, we focus on some writing. I wish we had more time to focus on writing, but we don't have that much time. My bias is to focus on writing that I think would be useful to the workplace. This is an academic program, so if you want to go on to graduate school, you will have to write an APA format, so I do use APA format for some things in this course, but it's not an academic writing course. We're not writing APA or MLA or Chicago style term papers. We're writing documents that I think are more pragmatic and hopefully useful. And I say that a little bit reluctantly because I know this is one of the things we talk about as faculty for the program is the emphasis on writing, and there's always a lot of talk about how do we produce better writers, and how do we get people to elevate their writing ability, and that's a hard thing to do in any course, but with this course I think we will try to focus on just that one area of business writing, and then hopefully you'll continue to write in all your courses and use the APA format. That's the adopted format for the Leadership Studies program in terms of citations is APA. You don't have to buy the manual if you just go to the Purdue OWL, which was a link off the syllabus page. They have all the styles there, so you can find pretty much anything you need there. All right, so white paper. What is a white paper? So a white paper is a business research paper. It's, and that's, I think, the best way to think about it. It's you're going to research something, you're going to write about it. You're going to write about it in a very concise way, and that way it's more like a expository essay than it is a narrative. There's not a lot of room for fluffy writing or opinions. There will be a place for opinions. It's usually in recommendations or something like that. But for the most part, you want to stick with kind of the facts. So white paper is a research paper. Once again, like I'm feeding the online training session information to you slowly. So this last one is, hey, last week you reviewed the rubric for it. This week you'll sign up to give your session. So if we go to the sign up sheet, this is going to take us to week 8, which is the last week of the course when it's due. Right here under 4 and 3, you see sign up list here. Sign up list here. So they both have it. Well, it's the same sign up list. One, you're going to sign up as the facilitator. The other, you're going to sign up as the participant. So this is an example. Please don't go to Zoom on April 1st. I made it April 1st. I figured April Fool's Day. I have had people try to sign in on this. So this is April Fool's, okay? Don't go on April 1st. But you just put your name here. You put your date and time of your session. That's your choice. You can make it at midnight if you want, 6 a.m. I don't care. But just be cognizant that if you do have a weird time like that, you might not get a lot of people signing up over here in this block. The people that sign up to attend your session are going to be your classmates. That is also a required assignment to attend your classmates' sessions. I think it's 5, could be 3. We'll see that in a second, but you attend those, and then anything you attend above and beyond those required sessions are extra credit. It's a great way to get extra credit if you fall behind in this course, miss a quiz, miss a discussion post, something like that. Okay, and then the meeting ID. So when you set up a Zoom session, you'll get a meeting ID, and you just put that there. Let's take a look real quick at that meeting ID number. So for tonight's session, the way Zoom works is it says, wait, I don't want to bore you guys. Have you used Zoom? Did you use Zoom in Joy's class? So you already set up a session? Did you host a Zoom session? Okay, you haven't. Okay. So in this case, you're going to host it. So you'll go to Zoom and you want to make sure, and I'm going to have to get better directions than this, but when you go to Zoom, you want to make sure that you use the Humboldt State Zoom portal, for lack of better terms, so that when you go into Zoom, it knows that you're part of the Humboldt community, because then you'll be able to go over the 45-minute, I think, or 40. It's either 40 or 45-minute time frame or duration. It's like having the pro license, basically, of Zoom. So you'll want to do that, and I'll have to get directions. I'll put them on the announcement tab. But then once you create a Zoom meeting, it'll ask you, do you want to invite people? And here's where it gets a little bit clunky, because it basically generates this invitation, but then it's just basically a copy and paste thing. So you'll have to copy it, and it has a button for copying, but you'll have to go back to email and paste it in there, or you can I would do that. I would paste it somewhere so you have this information somewhere, and then meeting ID is what you need, so that's right here. And really, when you go into Zoom, once you log in, if you forget any of this, if you have the meeting ID and you're in the Humble portal, then you'll be able to get to the meeting. So that's the meeting ID for mine right there. Some people don't use their phone or don't use their computers or their mobile devices when they go into Zoom for these sessions. They want to just call in. That's allowed, and you see the phone numbers here. So now they won't have that on the sign up sheet, so they'll have to ask you for it if they want to do that. All right, so back to modules. So then we get into week 6. This is you start reading the Crucial Conversations book. Share a video discussion. This is where you're kind of going out and looking for a great speaker. So now we're kind of shifting from that writing to speaking. And so for this one, you're going out there and finding somebody that you think is doing a good job out there. A lot of them are TED Talks. At least those are the ones that students pick usually. Week 7, now we're getting close to the end of the course. And Crucial Conversations, discussion as assignment is due. And then in week 8, we took a look at this. Most of you will have the major assignments done before week 8 because you're not going to all wait until the last week to do your online leadership training session. This is what you sign up for on that spreadsheet. So you get to pick when you want to do that. You can do it as early as, I think, week 3 or 4. So really you can be done with the major assignments pretty early in this course if you want to be. And the reason I do that is we don't want to have everybody's presentations kind of right on top of each other at the last week or 2. So you get 4 weeks to kind of get your online leadership training session scheduled and finished. There should be examples of all these things: the white paper, the online leadership training session, student examples. Oh, and then when you do attend these sessions, the way you get credit for it is here. You go to, once again, discussion forums, and you go in there and you basically, well, let's just go there. Oh, this one's locked. Okay, so this is how it would look if I haven't unlocked it. So this will be unlocked on April 2nd. But what you would do is it's just a discussion forum, and you just go in there and you say, here's a list of all the people sessions that I attended. Now, it's not just attending these sessions. I want you to participate. So if I go back and start looking at these and I find people that aren't talking, that aren't participating, then you're not going to get credit for that. There's not going to be any credit for that. I just want to make that clear because I've had some confusion in the past. These are meant to be interactive training session. That's the difference between facilitating and presenting something is that engagement. And a lot of that is on the presenter. So if the presenter doesn't make the participants or feel like they should contribute, then I might still give the participants credit for that and just dock the presenter or the facilitator for that. But a lot of times what it is that facilitator is asking, do you have any questions, or can anybody think of any examples? And it's like crickets, and that's what I don't want. So when you come to these, make sure you set aside the time so that you can devote and stay engaged with the presentation, and participate really. So to summarize, there are 2 signature assignments in this course. The first is a research paper. It's called a white paper. And the second is an online leadership training session. The online leadership training session is, it has to be on something leadership related. The white paper has to be on something leadership related. So a lot of times people ask, well, can I do the same thing? I'm researching all this information about this one area of leadership for my white paper. Can I just do a training session on that? And the answer is yes, you can. And that's a very smart way to go, because you get to really delve into a topic and not only write about it, but then you get to talk about it and teach people basically about this area of leadership that you researched. The other way is good too, though. If you wanted to do 2 different topics and kind of say you had something related to your work or to your leadership plan that you wanted to do for either the white paper or the online leadership training session, that's a great example to do it and try to get some feedback on it in this class. So it's up to you. You can do it on the same topic, or you can do 2 different topics. Okay, I think I'm done. 37. So I'm going to open it up now for questions.
Can you kind of give an example of like leadership topic that you're mentioning that we could do? Just kind of like a rough idea to kind of start thinking about it a bit.
Yeah, that's a great question. So the one thing you're going to find in that BAS reading, and I would say do that BAS reading early, you don't have to wait, is you're going to find that a really good academic foundation for what leadership is. And there's so many areas that you could focus on. If I gave you some examples like situational leadership or servant leadership or the servant leader, if I, people in the past have done, it's getting a little old, but leadership versus management, even giving you those few, I feel like I'm doing a disservice because it's just such a, just barely scratching the surface. You guys did strength finders in your last course. That's an area of leadership. You could kind of research that a little bit more. Go beyond the strength finders book. It's a little book, but you would have to kind of go back and find, where did this all come from, and try to get at least 3 sources. I always say 3 because that way, you're kind of, it's probably the fewest number of sources that you want in a research paper, right? Because you don't want to just kind of write from one perspective. You could go into what's hot into business right now with leadership. Leadership training is a topic. There was an article in the Harvard Business Review just in November-December issue about how companies are not doing a good job developing leaders and internally, and they're looking at, well, why is that? And they have a lot of good information in there that could be researched. Gender bias, when it comes to leadership. Why aren't women rising up to these top leadership positions? And I think anything that really is researched based, like it has a foundation and solid evidence, I think is fair game for and it's related to leadership, is fair game for the white paper or the online leadership training session. The online leadership training session gets a little bit more interesting in that you could actually teach the group how to do something, and then it's a little more, a little less academic, a little less research. You still have to do the research, but it could be something that almost everybody would benefit from, like best way to facilitate a difficult meeting or something like that, or third point referencing when it comes to counseling a subordinate or something like that. And you could basically talk about how to do this particular skill, and just teach people how to do that in that session. That would be really cool to see something like that. So it doesn't have to be, on the theoretical or research basis. It could be more practical, but where they overlap is they're both about leadership. They both should be focused on bringing something. What I really want is something that we can all benefit from being in a leadership studies program, either knowledge-wise or skills, and does that help?
Yeah, no, definitely. I like it. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for the question.
I have a question.
Sure.
Professor, how does this the white paper or the online training session, how does it fold into the leadership plan that's part of the capstone?
Okay, so your capstone is basically one thing I didn't mention was portfolium, but think of capstone as basically your portfolio. And these things can go into your portfolio. Does that make sense?
So it's just going to the portfolio. It's not necessarily going into the plan, or is
Yeah,
the plan portfolio?
The reason it's not part of your plan is because my experience with the program is that people's plans are constantly changing, and I don't know, it's a moving target for me as an instructor. So for me, I'm teaching you, or I'm requiring you to do 2 things that are worthy of putting up. If you do it well, they're worthy of putting up on your portfolio site. And that, to my understanding, that's how Kurt, who teaches the capstone course, that's how he's addressing the capstone course is, okay, let's look at your portfolio. What have you done? And, and then he takes it a step further from that. So these might be things that at the end of the program, you look at and you say, geez, I really liked that white paper that I did. Or they might just be things that kind of fall on the cutting room floor, in terms of what you showcase in capstone. So, but the initial thought for this program was that there was going to be a leadership plan that was going to take somebody from here to there. And what we found was that, and then also a project, and that project was going to be based on, they were both going to be based on their work. So it's like, okay, I work at Target, and my goal is to get from supervisor to regional manager or something like that. So all your effort goes into that goal, right? So you're gonna put together this this leadership plan to get you there, and you're gonna put together this project that would help you get there. And that just hasn't really materialized from what I've seen in the program. I've been here since the second course, and this is this. I'm sorry, the third course. So this is the second course, but initially there was another instructor. But I also teach the data-driven leadership course, the next one. So what we're seeing is the reality is that graduates, they graduate, and right now the capstone is taking that portfolio. If you do great work in all the courses, when you're done, you have a portfolio of great work on leadership and related to where you want to go and what you want to do. So these can be related to that. There's nothing that I'm not saying they can't, but for me to try to dictate and say this is exactly how it fits into your leadership plan it's just something that's not feasible for me. Yeah.
I have a question.
Sure.
Maybe I missed it. Did you mention how long the presentation has to be?
I did not, but that's a great question. I think it's 15 to 30 minutes. It's not a long presentation. I think 30 minutes is really a good length.
Okay, and then the participation, we sign up for somebody else's presentation, and we are basically just there to see how their presentation goes and then ask questions based on what they said, or are we participating in some fashion that we're helping to teach that presentation?
Well, you won't teach it, and whatever participation that you do in that presentation will be up to the presenter, the facilitator.
Okay.
But you should go, I mean, the idea is that this is one step beyond just a presentation. This is a facilitation. So the participants should go not as attendees, but as participants and be ready to participate. Like you were going to training. Like
okay.
If your work said, okay, you have training on Friday at 12 o'clock, you might, I mean, that might be like just sit there and listen training, or it might be, and that would be terrible training. Or it might be something where you go and you actually have to do something and
hands-on type, something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's what I'm hoping for. It's something where they actually have some. I think the rubric. I'm looking at the rubric now. It's 15 to 30 minutes, and things that the facilitator needs to do are things like have at least one activity to foster participation. check for understanding at least 2 times, and foster interest in the topic, encourage others' thoughts and opinions. So those are things that make it so that, you know, they're going to be asking, they should be asking for your participation and input.
Okay.
And you should be doing the same when you have your session.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And that rubric can be found right at the if you click on the actual assignment, then the rubric's on that page there. So I didn't talk about the Humboldt State writing rubric, but there is a Humboldt State writing rubric. It's found on the website. So that one you'll see from course to course. So that one is something that many of the different instructors in leadership studies are adopting as part of their guidance to students on that. All right. Go ahead and ask if you have other questions. I'm going to just review my notes and make sure I covered everything. Okay, so the only thing I didn't cover was there is an elevator speech somewhere. So that's just going to be a short presentation. So this will be kind of a one-way presentation. It'll be recorded and posted on the website, but it'll be basically where you kind of pitch your idea for the online training session. I don't know how we missed that, but actually, probably the easiest way for me to find it is go to the Assignments tab. Okay. I'm not sure. All right. Well, don't quote me on that. I might have taken that out of this course. I used to have it as a way to get ready for doing your presentation, but I'm not seeing it any longer. The problem with these 8-week courses is they go by so quick. There's not a lot of time for a lot of the stuff I'd like to have. So scratch that. I don't think there is an elevator speech any longer. And I could be getting my courses mixed up too. That might be in the data course. All right, so we're still under an hour. Any other questions?
I guess just since we're not having that elevator speech, is there some way we still check with you to make sure our topic is, I guess, appropriate or feasible, or is it something we just do? Or
you can always bounce things off me. I'm here to help, to facilitate this course. So if there's not a built-in assignment for that, please, you know, if you have something that you're thinking of, even tonight, and you want to shoot it over to me, I'll be happy to look at it and give you my input.
Okay, yeah, sounds great.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think if that's it, then we'll end for tonight. And I'll at least stop recording.